Hi, I'm River Braun with CatamaranSite.com, and today I'm joined by David Alton, who is the creator of Maintenance Right on Schedule, and that is a tool designed to help boat owners stay on top of essential maintenance and keep their vessel in top shape. And so his expertise in simplifying boat upkeep has helped countless sailors avoid costly surprises and keep their adventures smooth sailing. And so in this interview, we'll dive into maintenance right on schedule, how it works, why preventive maintenance is key, and how you can take stress out of boat care. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for having me, River.
Yeah, tell us about yourself, David. How'd this all come about?
Yeah, so there's a few things. As you mentioned, I started maintenance right on schedule, and it really came about from my experience on boat life. So my wife and I lived aboard our Fountaine Pajot Helia 44 catamaran called Starry Horizons for 10 years. We did a full circumnavigation, had a fantastic time exploring the remote corners of the world. So got a lot of experience kind of with boat life, and a lot of those experiences led into the development of Maintenance ROS. While we were living on the boat, we actually did a YouTube channel and blog as well called Out Chasing Stars. So if people are interested in kind of seeing some of those adventures, those are all out there. And a small claim to fame that we were actually the first YouTube channel to fully document circumnavigation. So it's always kind of a little bit of my feather in the cap sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah, I was a cruiser as well and spent most of my time with maintenance and spreadsheets and Trello boards and things like that. So I
All
imagine.
of the tools, yes.
So yeah, tell us why you made maintenance right on schedule.
Yeah, the biggest reason was I just never had the system that I always wanted. So I figured it was finally time that I took all that knowledge and experience and really just built it myself. So I still very vividly remember the moment we bought our boat new, so we picked it up in France, and I remember that moment of stepping on board and kind of having this panic of, oh my goodness, what have we done? There's so many systems on here, complex systems. The stack of owner's manuals is like a foot and a half high. It was just kind of that, drinking from a fire hose feeling of, wow, this learning curve is going to be really steep. And because I knew that we were going to be doing this full circumnavigation, I knew everything was on me. I was going to be the one having to maintain the boat, and it was definitely um, we'll call it a pretty momentous moment trying to actually come to grips with all of that. And kind of throughout the entirety of our travels, like as cruisers and boaters always do, there was just lots of conversations with other boaters about, their boats, what they do to maintain their boats, all of these sort of things. And it just always struck me how all of the conversations were very similar. People always struggled with tracking maintenance schedules, getting and storing documentation, tracking inventory on the boat, like all of those sorts of things. And just the number of stories people told of, oh, something broke on my boat and I didn't realize I was supposed to be maintaining it, so that's why it broke. And people who kind of always subscribe to what I called the ostrich theory was, oh, maintenance is just too complicated. I don't want to deal with it. So head in the sand. And man, that just really does not work on a boat. So kind of like hearing all those common stories made me realize I was certainly not the only one with these sort of needs and wants. And again, like I said, I have all these kind of experiences living on the boat. So being able to take all those and put them into a system that I felt really worked was a big part of all this. And another part that is really, really true for me is a way to kind of give back and help the boating community. I mean, when we were on our circumnavigation, we got help from so many people, whether it was just, hey, you're working on this project, let me come over and help. I've done this before, or people, showing us around. There's the boating and the cruising community is I mean, it's renowned for a reason. And being able to come up with maybe a small way to try to give back and participate in that, now that I'm no longer on the boat, there was a definite part of that desire too.
That's fantastic. So how long did it take you before you decided you were going to build this app? What other things did you start with?
Yeah, I ran the gamut. So that first kind of sitting on the boat in France, realizing, oh, I should really be tracking some of these things I'm doing. Ran out and got a paper log. Everything was in French, so very difficult to actually read everything. But at least it was a start. But very quickly, realizing paper is not so great on a boat. Things get wet, get dirty. It's just not a very ideal solution. I definitely did a lot with Excel. So back in my kind of corporate life, I was quite a significant Excel spreadsheet jockey, so I'm pretty good at it. But there's still some kind of limits and stuff that it can't really do. I did try some of the digital tools that were starting to become available later on in our cruising life. Like when we first started, internet access was a significant challenge. So the being able to just constantly access the data was a pretty big limitation, which has really seemed to change in this day and age. But yeah, I tried just about everything, I feel.
Yeah. So is yours the first app that's out there about maintenance? I know there are some, and I think I ran across some of them. How is yours unique?
Yeah, there are definitely other ones out there. You know, we really felt that we can bring something a bit unique with an actual focus on boating life and how complex boats are. What I would generally say is, yes, there are a lot of other kind of apps and services out there that want to do the same sort of thing. There's usually kind of two ends of the spectrum. On one side is like the super yacht commercial type solution, which also comes with that super yacht pricing, not super interesting to a lot of boaters. And on the other end, there's a lot of very basic kind of solutions that maybe are just repackaged software from another type of market that say, oh, hey, there's a lot of boats. Maybe we should try to adapt this to boats. But they're very basic, don't really capture those complexities. So it's definitely a challenge on that front.
Yeah.
The other thing, like what's really unique about us is, like I said, we developed this from the ground up with boats. So we actually have our own equipment database with thousands of manufacturer recommended maintenance schedules. So, I mean, every boat is so unique with all the parts that are on it. What we wanted to do was have a solution that if you come into Maintenance ROS and say, I have this specific equipment on my boat, that we can give personalized, customized maintenance schedules for that individual boat. And not a lot of other systems can do that. You have to enter in your own tasks, which doesn't really solve for the you don't know what you don't know problem. And also, if I'm having to put all my own tasks in anyways, why not just try to use something like Excel? So to me, that just didn't really offer a really great, better solution than what I already had. And the other couple things for us, like we wanted a system that could actually predict when maintenance was going to be due based on how you used your boat. And that's one of the things that Excel for me always really struggled at. Like you can get it to work that way if you're really good at Excel, but it's a bit of an advanced task. So we wanted to be able to integrate some of that into our system, and then also really try to closely integrate inventory to maintenance tasks. So I don't know how your experience was, but I always found it that if I was doing a project and pulling everything out of lockers and stuff like that, that I always remembered to update the tasks that I had completed, but remembering which parts I had used and where I had got them from, it always just seemed one step too many. So to be able to kind of integrate all that into one system, it actually helped me keep track of what I was using and when I was using it, rather than having to go through the entire boat about every 6 months and trying to redo all of my inventory, which my wife certainly didn't enjoy when all the stuff got pulled out of lockers for days on end as I was going through it. So yeah, kind of all of those things really try to wrap up and build something that is a bit unique, really, really focused on the actual challenges of, managing and maintaining a boat.
That's fantastic. I really wish that it existed when I was cruising. I definitely would have been a customer.
Yeah.
Um, so do you see your core customer as the cruising community type, or are there any surprises that you found in your membership?
Yeah, so I mean, I built this basically for me, and kind of given that as the mindset of the core cruising customer, definitely was the original focus. But what we've really discovered is that, I mean, a lot of the issues cruisers are facing, I mean, all boaters face. So I wouldn't say it's just for cruisers. It's pretty much for anyone who kind of owns and operates their own boat. Like I said, I'm a pretty firm believer that just doing anything is to track maintenance is really important. And we have definitely seen beyond just cruising boats in our users. Everyone from like little small day runabouts, definitely cruising sailing boats, but even up to pretty big trawlers that are just handled by a couple out on their own boat. So it runs the gamut. There's usually at least a couple complex systems on the boats that users want to track. Whether that's engines, generators, winches, windlass, air conditioning, those sort of things. Um, and I would say that like it's coming from experience, it's definitely for our users, kind of the type, it's significantly easier to come into the system when you are starting out with a new or a new to you boat. But we've definitely had a lot of people come in who wanted to transition systems if they realized, oh, I missed some preventative maintenance and it led to some problems. So I wouldn't say just focused on the cruising community. I think we're very well suited to handle them, but I hopefully feel all boaters could benefit.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So the age-old question, how much should you spend on maintenance each year? Do you have any feel for that,
Oh
given your
man,
experience?
so it's that age-old question because it is definitely the tough one. So there are a lot of variables that I feel come into play on this one. Where a boat is used, if it's used in freshwater or saltwater, has a pretty significant impact on that sort of thing. How often the boat's used, if it's just going to be kind of a weekender to, live aboard, sailing around the world sort of thing, definitely will change up some of those factors as well. How complex the systems are on the boat. If you have a very simple boat with just an engine and a windlass, that's going to cost less to maintain than if you have a boat with a generator and air conditionings and water makers and all of those sort of things. Age of the boat is also another one I'd say plays into that. I mentioned we bought our boat new. It is definitely not like buying a new car. There is still maintenance and repairs that come into play pretty much straight from the beginning. But I would say, as a general rule, we spent a bit less money and time doing repairs than friends of ours who had, older type boats. And the other thing I would say is a lot also can depend on kind of the owner's approach to preventative maintenance, both you as the current owner, but then also the previous owner as well. Like if they neglected to do some of that maintenance, that bill will generally come due on you. So wanting to be able to document all the maintenance that was done and be able to transfer that over to a new owner also was one of those reasons that I really wanted to start Maintenance ROS. And the new owner of Starry Horizons was quite appreciative to have all that information. So I know at least that works. What I will say is kind of as a common rule of thumb is usually about 2 to 10% of the boat's value is kind of generally accepted. But again, that varies a bit. So that 2% side, I would say, is going to be if you have a more expensive boat, and the 10% will be if maybe the boat is on the less expensive side. And a lot of that makes sense. Oil is going to be common type price, no matter if the boat is $1 million boat or a $5,000 boat. But it makes sense that we form a greater percentage of the boat price on that cheaper boat. Now, from our personal experience, which I'm happy to share, and we have actually more information on our Out Chasing Stars blog, is we spent about $16,000 to $17,000 a year pretty consistently on maintenance and repairs when we were sailing around the world. So that was about 2.5% of our boat price. So, can kind of use that as a practical real world example, if you will.
Yeah. And I guess also, are you doing the maintenance yourself or are you
Oh,
paying
yeah.
somebody else to do it? That's gonna dramatically change that.
That is, yes, definitely a factor in that. There was a very big reason why I learned very quickly it was going to be well worth my effort to try to learn to do a lot of the maintenance myself.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned something really interesting and compelling, I think, about being able to have those records on file. So when you do go to sell your boat, are you able to, if you're using maintenance right on schedule, are you able to transfer that information to the new owner?
Absolutely, yeah. We have a way that if users want to transfer over the accounts, that we have steps set up, they can reach out to us. We can guide them through that, get the new owner set up with their account, and kind of the new owner's account will have all that previous history, including all the documentation, any pictures that might have been taken. It's I took so many pictures of doing maintenance on boats. I hope people also follow that because you will have a better chance of remembering where that other last little screw came from if you actually have a picture of it. But yeah, all that information can easily get transferred over to the new owners.
That's fantastic, David. Thank you so much. Can you tell people how they can find out more about maintenance right on schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a website, MaintenanceROS.com. Happy to, have people come there, check that out. We offer like a 30-day free trial. So if you want to just sign up and see what it's about, no credit cards needed, and just kind of create your own schedule, see what it's all about. We've got a bunch of tutorials that I filmed, kind of walking through the different features and how to use them. Those are available on the website, or you can search for them on YouTube. Maintenance ROS is the channel name. And lastly, I'm happy to be reached out to directly. So my email is david@maintenanceros.com. And I love chatting about boats and like maintenance on boats and being able to see what Maintenance ROS can do to help boat owners.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, David. It's been great getting to know you and your app better. I appreciate you coming by.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.